Welcome into Bryant-Denny Stadium, home of the Alabama Crimson Tide in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, as McGill-Toolen has just defeated Spain Park 14-12 in the Super 7 7A state championship. I'm Jon Lunceford alongside Aaron Daniel. And Aaron, what a great game. We talked about the great defenses coming in and who would reign supreme. Which defense surprised you most tonight?
You know, normally I would be able to say one stood out over the other. If you were going to do that, it would probably be McGill-Toolen. But I can give you various reasons for either. You know, total yardage, it was clearly McGill-Toolen. They racked up over about 200 yards more than Spain Park. Their defense was consistent throughout the night. Problem for McGill-Toolen was their offense giving up 3 turnovers to Spain Park, so you have to give Spain Park's defense a lot of credit for creating opportunities for their offense. They just didn't capitalize on the end of the night. In the end, that's why they get beat.
Yeah, McGill-Toolen had 3 turnovers in this game, a really costly one down at the end of the game. All they really had to do was try to run the clock out, and they could have won the game. They fumbled the ball. Spain Park gets it on their own, or on the McGill-Toolen 13-yard line. Why couldn't Spain Park score? They had 3 turnovers. They should have won this game on turnovers alone.
You know, there's a few things that go into that. Obviously, mistakes, very inopportune penalties throughout the night. There wasn't an abundance of penalties. Spain Park only had 3. Problem was they came at the worst possible times. Also included in that, poor play calling. I didn't like the play calling that I saw from Spain Park. A lot of cuteness involved. They tried to get way too cute. This team coming in was very straightforward, punch you in the mouth, win with defense, win with field position. They didn't do that throughout the night. They tried to run reverses all the time. I think if they threw a double reverse pass in there, the quarterback ended up having to scramble, lost a few yards on the play. They even tried it on the 2-point conversion and ended up costing them. Could have tied the game with the later field goal that came. I think play calling was the main factor in this. Like I said, penalties weren't in abundance, but they were in the worst positions. McGill-Toolen racked up 6 penalties for 72 yards. It didn't hurt them in the end. Almost did. They had a touchdown pass that got called back, so it almost cost them a lot. In the end, though, would have liked to have seen more straightforward running. It worked really well for Spain Park in the fourth quarter. We both saw them smash mouth throughout the fourth quarter. They were getting yards, racking up yards. The only problem with that was they were running a lot of clock towards the end, and they just didn't have enough time and couldn't convert on 4 downs to finish the game off.
Yeah, you talk about the rushing attacks. We saw a lot from McGill-Toolen. We saw a lot from Spain Park. Definitely Spain Park's forte, but who's your MVP go-to tonight?
Without a doubt, it's got to be Kennedy. Terrell Kennedy ends up with 22 carries, 208 yards. The man had over 100 yards at the half. He was a beast tonight. Constant offensive production for McGill-Toolen, and really, you know, gave them a spark throughout the night. They just couldn't capitalize getting touchdowns. They got 2 good drives that ended up being enough, but Kennedy was the only constant offensive weapon for either side throughout the night. He is without a doubt the MVP, no question.
Yeah, running back by committee from McGill-Toolen all season long. We talked about Kennedy didn't even have 800 yards in the season coming in. In high school, a lot of times you see more video game numbers from some of these schools that make it to the Super 7. We see it with players like Kerryon Johnson last year. We see it with Tadero Marshall, Trey Nation this year, a lot of video game numbers. But who's your 7A MVP for the entire season? Because his season stats might not have been that good. Who are you going with for the whole season?
I like, you know, sometimes you have to go with offense when you see stats. However, 7A has been more of a defensive classification this year, so I got to go with a strong defender. You got to go with the Florida commit, Jeremiah Moon, linebacker out of Hoover. He's been stout all season. And fact is, we watched Spain Park Hoover round 1 in the regular season. Hoover did not lose any games this year because of how bad defensive play was. They played really well on defense all season long. That's why they won games throughout this year. Their offense cost them more times than it needed to, including the semifinals 2 weeks ago against Spain Park. And so for that, I'm going to give Jeremiah Moon all the credit in the world. He has been a stout player on defense in 7A. So anytime I can give a defender some credit, I'm going to do it, and this is one of those times.
Yeah, you talk about their defense. Only 7 points allowed to Spain Park. That should be enough to win. 17 in the first meeting. That should be enough to win, but offense just couldn't get it going. Hoover's defense, definitely a lot of great players there. All right, finally, we have McGill-Toolen as your state champion. We have Spain Park as your runner-up. Who's your top 5 in 7A overall now that the playoffs are done?
You know, number 5, I'm going to throw the North region a bone. I'm going to go with James Clemens. The Jets were very impressive this year. It's only, their 4th or 5th season in school history. They have been exceptionally good, and they were only 3 points away from knocking off the runner-up in this game, Spain Park. In a lot of ways, James Clemens threw away that game, much like McGill-Toolen almost did tonight and Hoover did 2 weeks ago. Number 4, I'm going to go with Central Phoenix City, a team that we really thought was going to get to this point. McGill-Toolen was a bit of a surprise coming here. We all thought, you and myself included, Central Phoenix was the team to beat out of the south half of 7A. Number 3 is Hoover, because quite frankly, after their first 2 losses in regular season against Spain Park and Vestavia, they were as good as any team in 7A, even including going on what I call their revenge tour throughout the playoffs. They knocked off Vestavia with ease. Thought it was going to happen against Spain Park. As you said, their offense just did not produce in that game. They only got 6 points in that game, lost 7-6, including on a very tough final drive in which they just mismanaged the clock horribly. So Hoover will finish number 3. Spain Park's number 2, obviously, and then, of course, you have to give McGill-Toolen number 1 as your state champs. Very impressive team. Paris Chambers at quarterback, very strong throughout the year, throwing for over 2,300 yards on the season. And, of course, Kennedy, what can you say? You said running back by committee. He was the only running back tonight, really, for this team. Stout running game, stout defense, earned that number 1 ranking with ease.
Yeah, you talk about Kennedy. You can see him up there on the Jumbotron behind us. They just did their press conference here at the state championship. So McGill-Toolen, your 7A state champs. Spain Park, your runner-up. We talked about Hoover. So close, couldn't quite get there. James Clemens, great team out of the north. Central Phoenix City, obviously, the best team coming out of Region 2. Tomorrow, we've got even more action. We have 3A, then we have 1A, and then we have 5A. So we're just getting started here in Tuscaloosa at Bryant-Denny Stadium, home of the Crimson Tide. We'll be back tomorrow live. AL Preps, Daniel and Jon Lunceford. We'll see you tomorrow.